Most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. I am a slow walker, but I never walk back. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. You can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. I'm not bound to win, but I'm bound to be true. I'm not bound to succeed, but I'm bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. Character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. Tact is the ability to describe others as they see themselves. I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. How many legs does a dog have if you call his tail a leg? 4. Saying that a tail is a leg doesn't make it a leg. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. I will prepare, and someday my chance will come. It has been my experience that folks who have no vices have very few virtues. We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. And that's my religion. I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. My dream is of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of Earth. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. I remember my mother's prayers, and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life. The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as his liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty. Plainly, the sheep and the wolf are not agreed upon a definition of liberty. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? I like to see a man proud of the place in which he lives. I like to see a man live so that his place will be proud of him. Marriage is neither heaven nor hell, it is simply purgatory. Every man is said to have his peculiar ambition. Whether it be true or not, I can say, for one, that I have no other so great as that of being truly esteemed of my fellow men, by rendering myself worthy of their esteem. How far I shall succeed in gratifying this ambition is yet to be developed. Discourage litigation. Persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. At what point then is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer. If it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time, or die by suicide. No matter how much cats fight, there always seem to be plenty of kittens. You have to do your own growing no matter how tall your grandfather was. That some achieve great success is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. If this is coffee, please bring me some tea, but if this is tea, please bring me some coffee. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Stand with anybody that stands right. Stand with him while he is right and part with him when he goes wrong. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, or exercise their revolutionary right to overthrow it. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. Important principles may and must be inflexible. Avoid popularity if you would have peace. The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. The things I want to know are in books. My best friend is the man who will get me a book I ain't read. Labour is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labour, and could never have existed if labour had not first existed. Labour is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. When I hear a man preach, I like to see him act as if he were fighting bees. I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. He has a right to criticize, who has a heart to help. A friend is one who has the same enemies as you have. I don't know who my grandfather was. I'm much more concerned to know what his grandson will be. A woman is the only thing I am afraid of that I know will not hurt me. If once you forfeit the confidence of your fellow citizens, you can never regain their respect and esteem. If I were two-faced, would I be wearing this one? We should be too big to take offense and too noble to give it. Surely God would not have created such a being as man, with an ability to grasp the infinite to exist only for a day. No, no, man was made for immortality. We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. What kills a skunk is the publicity it gives itself. When you have got an elephant by the hind legs and he is trying to run away, it's best to let him run. If we could first know where we are and whither we are tending, we could then better judge what to do and how to do it. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. I have great respect for the semicolon. It is a mighty handy little fellow. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. I can make more generals, but horses cost money. I am rather inclined to silence. A man watches his pear tree day after day, impatient for the ripening of the fruit. Let him attempt to force the process, and he may spoil both fruit and tree. But let him patiently wait, and the ripe pear at length falls into his lap. All the armies of Europe, Asia and Africa combined, with all the treasure of the earth, our own excepted, in their military chest, with a Bonaparte for a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or make a track on the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. With the fearful strain that is on me night and day, if I did not laugh, I should die. Ballots are the rightful and peaceful successors to bullets. Everybody likes a compliment. Standing as I do, with my hand upon this staff and under the folds of the American flag, I ask you to stand by me so long as I stand by it. If there is anything that a man can do well, I say, let him do it. Give him a chance. The leading rule for the lawyer, as for the man of every calling, is diligence. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. Any people anywhere, being inclined and having the power, have the right to rise up and shake off the existing government and form a new one that suits them better. This is a most valuable, a most sacred right, a right which we hope and believe is to liberate the world. If the people of Utah shall peacefully form a state constitution tolerating polygamy, will the democracy admit them into the Union? There is another old poet whose name I do not now remember who said, "Truth is the daughter of time." Common-looking people are the best in the world. That is the reason the Lord makes so many of them. Hold on with a bulldog grip and chew and choke as much as possible. No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent. The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. I want it said of me by those who knew me best, that I always plucked a thistle and planted a flower where I thought a flower would grow. Never regret what you don't write. Don't interfere with anything in the Constitution. That must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberties. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. In this sad world of ours, sorrow comes to all, and to the young, it comes with bitterest agony because it takes them unawares. I've had experience enough to know what I say. Knavery and flattery are blood relations. I pass my life in preventing the storm from blowing down the tent, and I drive in the pegs as fast as they are pulled up. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. True patriotism is better than the wrong kind of piety. There is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. Repeal the Missouri Compromise. Repeal all compromises. Repeal the Declaration of Independence. Repeal all past history. You still cannot repeal human nature. It will be the abundance of man's heart that slavery extension is wrong. And out of the abundance of his heart, his mouth will continue to speak. Our defense is in the preservation of the spirit, which prizes liberty as a heritage of all men, in all lands everywhere. Destroy this spirit, and you have planted the seeds of despotism around your own doors. I understand a ship to be made for the carrying and preservation of the cargo, and so long as the ship can be saved with the cargo, it should never be abandoned. This union likewise should never be abandoned unless it fails, and the possibility of its preservation shall cease to exist, without throwing passengers and cargo overboard. When I'm getting ready to reason with a man, I spend 1/3 of my time thinking about myself and what I'm going to say, and 2/3 about him and what he is going to say. I never had a policy. I have just tried to do my very best each and every day. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him work diligently and build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built. The highest art is always the most religious, and the greatest artist is always a devout person. I desire so to conduct the affairs of this administration that, if at the end I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall at least have one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside of me. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under the rule of a just God, cannot long retain it. A living dog is better than a dead lion. Judge Douglas, if not a dead lion for this work, is at least a caged and toothless one. How can he oppose the advances of slavery? He don't care anything about it. Books serve to show a man that those original thoughts of his aren't very new at all. Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We of this Congress and this administration will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. When the white man governs himself, that is self-government. But when he governs himself and also governs another man, that is more than self-government. That is despotism. These men ask for just the same thing, fairness and fairness only. This, so far as in my power, they, and all others, shall have. It has so happened in all ages of the world that some have labored, and others have, without labor, enjoyed a large proportion of the fruits. I hold that while man exists, it is his duty to improve not only his own condition, but to assist in ameliorating mankind. To give victory to the right, not bloody bullets, but peaceful ballots only, are necessary. It is a great piece of folly to attempt to make anything out of my early life. Illinois surpasses every other spot of equal extent upon the face of the globe in fertility of soil, and in the proportionable amount of the same which is sufficiently level for actual cultivation. As our case is new, we must think and act anew. I know that the Lord is always on the side of the right, but it is my constant anxiety and prayer that I and this nation may be on the Lord's side. To the best of my judgment, I have labored for and not against the Union. As I have not felt, so I have not expressed any harsh sentiment towards our Southern brethren. I have constantly declared, as I really believed, the only difference between them and us is the difference of circumstances. Gold is good in its place, but loving, brave, patriotic men are better than gold. I believe this government cannot endure permanently, half slave and half free,